Why? The richest 1% are secretly masters of doing nothing. There's a dirty secret the ultra-wealthy don't want you to know. While you're grinding 16-hour days, drowning in hustle culture, propaganda, they're on yachts doing absolutely nothing. And that's precisely why they're winning. This isn't about work ethic or talent. It's about understanding ancient power mechanism that's been deliberately hidden from the masses. In 1962, Texan oil baron named Hunt became one of the richest men alive. His secret? He spent most afternoons napping in his office while competitors worked themselves into early graves. When journalists asked about his success formula, he smiled and said, "I sleep on my problems, literally." Hunt understood something profound that modern productivity culture has erased from collective consciousness. This connects directly to Power Law 28 from the 48 Laws of Power. Enter action with boldness. But here's the twist. Nobody tells you. True boldness isn't constant movement. It's the courage to stay still when everyone else is panicking. The powerful move once, decisively, after weeks of apparent laziness. The weak exhaust themselves with pointless activity. Look at nature's apex predators. Sharks barely move, conserving energy until the perfect strike. Spiders wait motionless for days. Eagles soar effortlessly on thermals, while smaller birds flap frantically and accomplish less. You've been conditioned to be the frantically flapping bird, burning energy with zero return on investment. The Stoics called this strategic patience. Epictetus taught that the wise man distinguishes between things within his control and things outside it, then refuses to waste energy on the latter. But corporate America twisted this wisdom into its opposite, creating a cult of perpetual busyness that serves only one purpose: keeping you too exhausted to question who really benefits from your labor. Here's where it gets sinister. There's documented evidence that management consulting firms in the 1950s deliberately designed corporate structures to maximize employee activity while minimizing their actual power. More meetings, more reports, more metrics, all designed to create the illusion of productivity while extracting maximum value from your limited time on Earth. Action step 1. Write down everything you did yesterday. Circle only the activities that actually increased your money, power, or influence. You'll be shocked how much of your life is performance theater designed by others. The conspiracy runs deeper than you think. Every productivity app, every time management course, every motivational speaker selling the hustle dream is profiting from your fear of stillness. Because in stillness, you might realize you're running on a hamster wheel that goes nowhere. Strategic laziness isn't sloth, it's rebellion against a system designed to consume you. Type power in the comments if you're ready to stop being a pawn in someone else's game. What useless activity will you eliminate today? Hit that like button if this hit different, and subscribe because what's coming will shatter everything you thought you knew about success. How Titans engineer emptiness while you drown in fake productivity. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's partner worth billions, once said something that should be taught in every business school, but isn't. We read and think, and make very few decisions. Think about that. Two of the wealthiest investors alive spend most of their time doing what looks like nothing. No frantic trading, no constant deal-making, just strategic laziness punctuated by rare, devastating moves that reshape industries. Ray Dalio, the hedge fund legend, built Bridgewater Associates into a $150 billion empire using a principle he calls thoughtful disagreement. But here's what he doesn't advertise. He spends weeks in apparent inactivity, just observing patterns, before making a single decision. While competitors burn out chasing every opportunity, Dalio waits like a python, then strikes with precision that leaves no survivors. Power law for states. Always say less than necessary. Extended to action, this means do less than expected. The moment you become predictably busy, you become controllable. Your enemies know your schedule, your patterns, your limitations. Strategic laziness makes you unpredictable, dangerous, impossible to pin down or manipulate. There's archaeological evidence that ancient Roman senators would disappear to their villas for months, doing apparently nothing while the city buzzed with activity. When they returned, they'd drop a single sentence in the Senate that would shift entire political landscapes. They weren't lazy, They were accumulating power through absence and strategic timing. Modern neuroscience now proves what the ancients knew intuitively. The brain's default mode network, which only activates during rest, is responsible for creative breakthroughs and complex problem solving. When you're constantly busy, you literally shut down the neural pathways that generate wealth, creating insights. Your hustle is making you stupid. Thomas Edison had a bizarre habit. He'd hold steel balls while napping in his chair. As he drifted into sleep, the balls would drop, waking him in that twilight state between consciousness and dreams. That's where his most valuable inventions crystallized. He wasn't working hard, he was working smart by weaponizing strategic laziness. Action Step 2. Block out 3 hours this week, labeled Strategic Nothing. No phone, no tasks, no guilt. Just exist. Watch how solutions to your biggest problems materialize without effort. Here's the conspiracy they don't teach in business school. Every major corporation has a vested interest in keeping you busy, but not powerful. Busy employees don't organize, don't question, don't build competing empires. They've turned busyness into a virtue specifically to prevent you from accessing the lazy genius state where real power is born. Comment clarity. If you finally see how your exhaustion serves someone else's agenda, how will you create space for strategic nothing this week? If this is rewiring your brain, smash that like button and subscribe, because we're just getting started exposing the hidden mechanics of power. What if productivity gurus are actually your greatest enemies? Have you noticed that the self-help industry is an infinite money machine that never solves your problem? Because if it did, you'd stop buying. Every book about waking up at a.m., every podcast about time optimization, every course about morning routines, they all sell the same empty promise. Do more, and you'll be more. It's the most profitable lie ever told, and you're voluntarily paying to stay trapped in it. Henry Ford, the real Ford, not the sanitized myth from textbooks, had a brutal philosophy about work. He observed that his busiest workers were also the least valuable. The ones running around all day produced nothing significant. Meanwhile, his chief engineers spent hours smoking, staring at the ceiling, looking completely useless, until they designed machines that transformed entire industries. Power Law 21 teaches, play a sucker to catch a sucker. True power players often appear disengaged, even lazy, while secretly orchestrating devastating moves. When you're constantly visible, constantly active, you telegraph your intentions. You become predictable, and predictability is death in the power game. Let's talk about something disturbing I discovered investigating elite patterns. High-level Silicon Valley executives pay up to $50,000 for doing nothing retreats in isolated deserts. Officially, they call it mindfulness, but it's neural reprogramming. They return with assassin-like clarity on how to eliminate competitors and dominate markets. This expensive laziness buys more power than years of hard work. Zen monks have a practice called zazen, sitting doing nothing for hours. Seems like wasted time to the conditioned Western mind, but neurologically, this forced inactivity rewires brain circuits to operate at processing levels that agitated minds never access. It's consciousness technology disguised as spirituality. Archimedes had his eureka moment not while working, but relaxing in a bathtub. Newton discovered gravity resting under a tree. Einstein formulated relativity during idle daydreams at the patent office. The pattern is clear. Hard work generates incremental results. Strategic laziness generates revolutions. Action Step 3. Identify the 3 productivity hacks you follow religiously. Abandon all of them for 1 week. Replace with 3 hours of unstructured time. Measure actual results, not the feeling of being busy. Here's the truth that will sound paranoid, but is verifiable. Your employer, your government, your social media platforms, all conspire without explicit coordination, which is even scarier to keep you perpetually busy, because a busy population has no time to build independent power. Your exhaustion is their security. Type rebellion if you're done being fuel for someone else's empire. What productivity lie will you abandon this week? If this content is dangerous enough to change your life, like and subscribe, because the final part reveals the exact protocol that separates servants from sovereigns. How strategic laziness became the final filter between peasants and kings. Here's what separates billionaires from wage slaves: the ability to do nothing without guilt. Mark Cuban spent an entire year after selling his first company doing absolutely nothing but playing basketball and drinking beer. Everyone thought he was wasting his life. Then he emerged and built an empire that made his first success look like pocket change. That year wasn't wasted. It was strategic decompression that cleared his mind for moves that would make him a titan. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about strategic withdrawal. While leading armies, he'd disappear for days into his tent, apparently doing nothing while battles raged. His generals panicked, but when he emerged, his decisions were so precise, so devastating, that enemies collapsed without prolonged fighting. He wasn't absent, he was recharging the clarity that made him unconquerable. Power Law 17 states, "Keep others in suspended terror, cultivate an air of unpredictability." When you're always busy, always available, always predictable, you lose this power. Strategic laziness makes you mysterious, dangerous, impossible to manipulate because nobody knows when you'll strike or how. There's a classified study from the 1970s that Rand Corporation conducted on executive decision-making. They found that CEOs who took more vacation days and worked fewer hours made dramatically better strategic decisions than their workaholic counterparts. The study was buried because it contradicted the Protestant work ethic that keeps the corporate machine running. But the data is undeniable. Laziness breeds superior judgment. John D. Rockefeller had a practice that scandalized his contemporaries. Every afternoon at p.m., he'd stop working entirely and take a 3-hour nap, regardless of crises happening in his empire. His competitors mocked him as soft, until they realized his Standard Oil was systematically destroying them while he slept. He understood that a rested tyrant beats an exhausted army every single time. The ancient Spartans, history's most feared warriors, spent most of their time doing what looked like nothing. While other Greek city-states worked fields and built things, Spartans lounged, talked, trained minimally. Their enemies called them lazy parasites, until those lazy parasites conquered most of the known world with brutal efficiency. Action Step 4. For the next 30 days, implement power naps at your peak stress moments. When everyone expects you to panic and hustle, disappear for 20 minutes instead. Return with clarity while competitors are drowning in reactive chaos. Here's the final conspiracy. Society needs you to believe that constant activity equals virtue, because that's how they extract maximum value from your finite life. Every message telling you to hustle harder, sleep less, optimize more, is designed to keep you producing for others while never accumulating real power for yourself. The truth is brutal but liberating. You've been running a race designed for you to lose. The finish line moves every time you get close. The only winning move is to stop running, observe the game from outside, and design your own rules, where strategic laziness isn't weakness, but the ultimate expression of power. You made it to the end because something inside you already knew you were playing the wrong game. The matrix of fake productivity has been exposed. Now, you have the choice: return to the hamster wheel, or start building your empire from silence, observation, and the kind of laziness that terrifies slaves but empowers sovereigns. Comment sovereign if you finally understand the real game. Share this video with someone still trapped in hustle culture lies. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this channel exists to reveal the secrets that separate subjects from rulers. The power was always available. You were just too busy to claim it.